Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the MTC Theatre. You all enjoying Ignite so far? Getting to learn a lot? Okay, well, hopefully I can keep that trend going today. Now, just by ways of quick introduction, my name's Jonathan Hart, and I'm a technical architect from the Johannesburg MTC. And what I'm going to do today is take you through the importance of identity in a cloud world. So, we start off by saying, why is identity so important? And you just have to look at some of the key trends that we're seeing out there at the moment. Credential theft is up drastically. Can anyone take a guess why this is? It's easy. It's the weakest point in the chain at the moment. And it doesn't matter if you are an elevated user, someone with high levels of access throughout the organization, or you're a simple receiver in a stores department. People can take these low-level accounts and use them to gain access to other items inside your organization. In fact, most of the time, they're targeting these low-level accounts because they are the ones that generate the least amount of sites inside the organization. The other thing we're seeing is organizations are moving towards identity as a service platforms. Services like Azure AD. And a lot of this is due to the rapid escalation of cloud technologies. People wanting to adopt these technologies, so now they need to move to an identity service that helps them organize access throughout their environment. Now, not surprisingly, cloud attacks are up. This is purely because more and more organizations are adopting cloud technologies. And bad actors or hackers or whatever you want to call them, they understand that people don't always take the correct considerations into place when they are deploying into cloud. They start treating cloud the same way they have treated their on-premise environments. So they're taking advantage of this. And the other key thing is, organizations, regardless of their policy, they're going to live in this hybrid situation for a number of years. Yes, there are some of these born in a cloud companies where everything they do is inside the cloud. And there's a lot of organizations that I've even worked with that have taken everything and moved it into the cloud. Though these are the minority. Most of you are going to live in this world where you have some information on-premise, some systems on-premise, and you're going to start leveraging cloud. So you need to make sure that this is part of your plan. Now, if you have a look at the typical way enterprises have transformed. In the past, the firewall was the security perimeter because it worked. We knew where our data was. It was in our data center. It was on our users' PCs in our office buildings. So firewalls worked well. When organizations started to expand, all they did was they extended that security perimeter. But then, digital transformation came along. And what organizations were found when they were starting on their digital transformation journey, and they started adopting cloud technologies, no matter where your firewall is located, it's not going to be able to protect the data in these cloud services. And a cloud service can be anything. It can be Office 365, Dropbox, Google. Your firewall's not protecting those items. Organizations also then start making use of infrastructure and platform as a service technologies. And IoT is drastically growing. No matter what your policy is on cloud, if you're starting to roll out IoT, you need somewhere for that data to go. Billions of devices are coming online. The only way you're going to be able to successfully handle this is if you're using some sort of cloud service. And this is why the identity becomes so important. Because it's the only constant, regardless of where you're going. Now, Azure Active Directory gives you the ability to create the identity as the control plane. It's going to give you services like conditional-based access, where we are evaluating per login per login session the risk level associated with that login. And then you can do things like invoke multi-factor authentication, depending on the scenario. Most organizations, most users, you don't want them to have to verify they are who they are with every single system they access, especially when they're inside the organization, on a trusted device. But when they are coming from outside the organization, then you want to put additional controls in place. Send them an MFA request to let them verify they are who they are. Grant them access, but maybe limit the type of access they have. You're also able to do things like privileged identity management, where standing access to elevated rights is no longer needed. If you need to perform a change, go request that change. Once it's been approved, your rights get elevated for that period of time. But now, this is great if you're working in just a cloud world. And we don't want to sit in a situation where we've got two different identities. I still see a lot of organizations where they have their on-premise identity and they have a cloud identity. This adds complication, it adds confusion. Throughout the years, we've struggled with this, where we've got numerous applications that our users are accessing. And it's different usernames, different passwords all the time. This adds security risks. So what you do is you set up a synchronization between your on-premise environment and Azure Active Directory. Now we've got a single identity across the board. You also have the ability to use Azure AD Application Proxy service to provide access to your on-premise applications using that cloud identity. But not only that, you can provide access to other cloud services, whether it's Office 365, Microsoft Azure, Dynamics 365, or even other third-party cloud solutions. Think of something like Salesforce, LinkedIn. You can now control when people have access to it. But the key thing is to make sure that your identity lifecycle management solution on-prem is working correctly. So that when a user leaves or he changes roles, his access is automatically updated and changed. If he's part of a certain group, go provision him an account in Salesforce. Go grant him access in these other third-party systems. And then when he leaves, make sure we remove that access. The single identity makes such a difference. People don't need to remember multiple passwords, multiple usernames, multiple logons. But now we also have the ability to do next generation, bring your own device. In the past, when you wanted to bring your own device, when companies first started out with this policy, you had to take your device to IT, and they had to manage it and put their controls on it. And especially with the younger generation coming in now, they don't want to hand over control of their device. It's my device. I bought it. I paid for it. Why should I let your company control it? I've heard some very strange things like, you're going to track my location, you're going to turn on my microphone at night, turn on my camera, watch what I'm doing. A lot of it is unfounded. Yes, it's possible, but we've got better things to do with our time. So now we have moved to a world where we can do application management on these devices, where we're protecting the data within the application. Person can do whatever they want on their machine, but our data, our company information, is safe and secure. And if the person leaves the organization, we have the ability to wipe just the company data. Another big challenge that we've always had is external access into our systems. Companies more and more need to collaborate with people outside of their organization. And the way we handled it in the past, we went and created them an account in our directory. And we managed that account for them. Which is a terrible way to do it. Because firstly, you don't understand that other organizations' processes and policies. You don't understand if those people still exist in that organization. And you have the overhead to deal with things like self-service, password reset, and so on. Now you have the ability to invite your customers and partners to start leveraging your applications and your tools. Whether it's in Office 365 or another cloud application, or even your on-premise applications. And you have the ability to allow them to authenticate with other third-party providers. Things like Facebook, Twitter, Ping Identity. You shouldn't have to manage other organizations' identities. All you need to do is manage the access on your side. Now, if we have a look at the typical identity journey that organizations go through, we start on-premise with securing those high-privileged accounts, usually separating them out from the normal login accounts that people use on a day-to-day basis. Give them privileged access workstations. Think of a workstation that's completely isolated, and that's where they perform their admin tasks. They also need to make sure that their directory is clean. I worked with an organization the other day that had 45,000 users. They had 42,000 unique department names. How is that possible? Okay, when you've got dirty data, there's no way you're going to be able to implement automation. And with the way things are growing and the way things are scaling, we need to automate as much as possible. Then, when we move to the cloud, once again, we start with our admins inside the cloud. Please, if you are using any of our cloud platforms, your administrators have to have multi-factor authentication enabled. It shouldn't be up for discussion. And depending if you have the licenses or not, privileged identity management needs to be enforced. So you don't have that standing level of access. And as organizations evolve, you start implementing multi-factor authentication for all your users, along with conditional access. And then when you really mature, you start implementing passwordless sign-on. Passwords are a terrible way to protect accounts. Who can agree? Who likes changing their account password every 30, 60, or 90 days? It's horrible. We've just released, with our latest version of Windows 10, we've updated our security baselines. You now no longer need to change your password every 60 or 90 days. Numerous studies have actually shown that it lowers your security posture because people are using easily guessable passwords. They're using the same things over and over. They're writing them down. But now just stopping a user from changing their password doesn't increase your posture immediately. You have to augment that with something else. Introduce two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, PIN authentication, facial recognition, biometrics. This way you can start increasing your security posture. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through a couple of scenarios. One, I'm going to show off passwordless sign-on using a hardware token. Now this is a USB-C key by a company called Ubico. And these we can use to sign onto our devices with and onto our accounts with. Now, to enable this, you need to go through to the Azure AD portal. Give us a second. Okay, once you're logged into Azure AD, you're going to come down to security. And then we're going to go to the authentication methods blade. And under the authentication methods, we've got two options here. We've got the FIDO 2.0 security key, which is what we're talking about here. And we've got Microsoft Authenticator passwordless sign-on. Now, in the public space, we've been able to use that Microsoft Authenticator to sign us onto our live accounts, to our Hotmail accounts for a while now. We've now introduced it into the organization. The one thing to be cognizant of, though, if a user wants to use the Microsoft Authenticator for passwordless sign-on, it needs to be a managed device inside your organization. Application management is not sufficient for this task. So for the security key, all you need to do is make sure you have it selected. Let's bring it up here. You can go and enable it. You can go select which users you want it enabled for inside in your organization. If you want to allow self-service passwords, well, self-service setup or not, and if you want to enforce the attestation, you can also go and restrict the keys. So you can only allow keys from certain vendors to be used inside your organization if you wanted to. Then, once you've got that set up, you can come through to myprofile.microsoft.com, and inside here you can go and update your security info. What this page is going to do is it's going to allow you to configure your multi-factor settings, your other devices, if you want a phone call or what your default setting is. Because this is an elevated request, I need to multi-factor again. So let me just open this up here quickly. Okay, now that I've verified I am who I am, I can come in here and you can see I've got my security key added in here already. I can see my GUID of my key, and then the data was registered. If I wanted to add an additional one, I could just come in, add a method, and choose security key. Now, when you add the security key, you've got two different types of keys, a USB key and an NFC key. Obviously, it all depends on the type of device that you're using and the type of key that you have. You also get keys that they are NFC, but they've got a USB port as well that you can plug them into. So once you choose this, you'll see you need to plug it in and set it up. The one thing that you must remember, there is a PIN associated with this key. So no one can just pick it up and use it to sign into your account. They still need that PIN code to be able to utilize this key. Okay. Now that's all great to get us registered, but what if we wanted to use that to sign onto our devices? For that, we need to go and create a configuration policy in our device management inside Microsoft 365. So we can come over here to our devices, come down to our configuration profiles, and we're going to create a new profile. Now, inside this profile, there's a custom setting that we need to put in. If we go look at properties, so we've just got a name, we can enter a description. Platform is Windows 10 and later, obviously. It is a custom type that we are entering here. Okay. If we go look at the settings, and I can flick over there quickly, we need to create a new OMA URI key, and you can see there's the URI that we are entering in. Data type is integer, and the value is 1. Now, every machine that this policy is associated with is going to get these settings, and it's going to give us the ability to sign onto the device utilizing that key. So now if we switch over to this device here, so you can see what this experience looks like. Logging in with Alex, you can see there, oh wait, give this a second to come up. Okay, so you can see there, insert your security key into the ports. See, immediately ask me for a PIN. So let me put my PIN in. Getting things ready, touch the key. There are 2 sensors on here. As soon as I touch that, it logs me in. And it would be the same experience if I'm on another device and I'm logging into a web browser. I'm trying to access Office 365, for example. When I log in and I type in my username, it's going to ask me for my key, enter the key, it's going to ask me for the password. Okay, so that's how we can start to address passwordless sign-on. The next thing I want to cover is privileged identity management. And I'm going to start off from the perspective of the user who's able to elevate his rights and what he goes through. Then I will take you through the experience from the admin's perspective and how we assign these rights at the end of the day. So over here, I've logged into my roles in Azure AD, and you can see I'm eligible to raise my access up to a global administrator. All I need to do is click Activate, verify that my details are correct, and inside here you can see I need to complete this out. Now, I can go and do a custom activation start time. And this is valuable if I know I'm going to be doing a change this Friday night at 10 o'clock. That's my change window that's been put up. But for the sake of this, I'm going to leave this unticked so that as soon as this is approved, my access is automatically elevated. I've also got my activation duration, so how long it's going to take me to perform the change. For the sake of now, I'm going to leave it low. You can include things around your ticket number, so CRM, I'll just give it a number. Ticketing system, D365, an activation reason, update to DLP policies, and activate. Now, there are two methods to authorize these. There's either an automatic authorization. If the person has completed all the fields, you can automatically elevate his access either immediately or during his window that he's requested. The key thing around this is, at least that way, it's audited. You know when people are going in and raising their rights. And you can see if someone's doing it too often and maybe doing things that they shouldn't be doing. The other method is to have people actually approve these requests. Though you must make sure that, especially if you're working in an environment where you're working across time zones, that there's always someone to approve these requests. You also want to make sure that you do have a couple accounts inside your organization that do have permanent access, so that you can always go in and update these if required. So now let's just switch back to the admin view. Now if I come back to Azure Active Directory, I come to the Identity Governance blade, and I come down to Azure AD roles under Privileged Identity Management. So from here, I can come in and see what requests I need to approve. And you can see there's Alex's request. I can see when his start time is. I can see the reason why he's requesting this access. And I can go in and approve it. I can also see how long he needs it for. You can go approve, go change, approved. I can see the requester's name, the role. I can see it's currently pending, and I can go approve. Now, once this is done, we can switch over and see. We'll give this a couple of seconds to pick up. Let's just refresh here. There you can see my access is valid now, and I now am a global administrator. Okay. So now if we switch back under Privileged Identity Management, we can go and see what AD roles there are available. And we can go and assign eligibility, go view the current roles in place. Thank you. Okay. So I can go see what roles we are currently protecting, what members we have, and their current status that they have. So we can update and change these as we want. We can see that Alex is eligible, but it's currently active. We can also go and set up alerts. So if users are being assigned these admin roles outside of PIM, we can get notified. This is very important to have. We can also see if administrators are not using their privileged roles. But you can see the severity around this one is low, because sometimes maybe people just need it and they do changes once in a while. And you can go and set up the details around this. So how long, when you want it, show more information, understand that a bit more. Let's go back quickly. I don't want to dismiss those roles. You can also pick up if there's too many global admins, and then also potential stale accounts, accounts that aren't being logged onto on a regular basis. To start off, it's always great. You can start off with the wizard. You can go and discover privileged roles. You can convert members to eligible that are already part of these groups, and then review when changes are being made to these member accounts. Now, in the past, we were only able to do these to built-in Azure AD roles. We now have the ability, while it's currently in preview, to do custom-created roles as well. So if we are creating custom roles inside of our organization, we are able to utilize this portion soon. Okay. Now, the last portion I want to touch on is around entitlement management. Now, one thing when we are working with partner organizations, we don't always understand who all the people are that require access into our environment. We were always reliant on people inside of our organization to send out invites or to let us know, and we go and create those guest accounts. How much easier would it be if we could set up a trust relationship with their domain and let them request access when they need access? Say, for example, we're busy with a specific project with another organization. Let's set up a portal that they can use to go and request access into our environment. And that's what we're able to do inside here. The first step that you need to do is come in and connect an organization. Now, adding an organization, you need to come in, give it a name. Right, let's just go back. Description. Project for finance. Okay, now you've got to add the directory that you're going to be working with. So inside here, I can go search for a tenant. And search. I can see the name of the tenant and the type of authentication that's happening inside there. And if it was connected, the last connection date. I can add this in, select. Now I've got my directory that I'm working with. Next, I can go specify sponsors. It's very important to understand who the sponsors are of this project, because that way you can set them up as approval responses for any requests that come in. So I'm going to come in and add an internal sponsor, and I'm going to add myself or my demo user, and select. Next, review and create. Okay, so now I've got 2 organizations connected inside here. The next step I can go and do is create a catalog. Now, a catalog is going to be a group of resources, of items inside my organization. I don't need to do this right here. I can do it when I'm creating my access package. So inside my access package, I can come in, new access package, give it a name. I'm going to call this Zolab project. Finance. And yeah, I can choose my catalog. So if I was using one that was already created, I can have selected there. Or I can go and create a new catalog. In this case, I'm going to do that. Enable it, yes or no, and if I want to enable it for external users. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm doing specifically for guests and people outside of my organization. But you can just as easily use this for people within your organization as well. So we go and create this. Description, catalog. Next, I move on to my resource roles. And this is where I can start adding my internal resources to this catalog. Now, I can add Office 365 groups as well as teams. So I can come in and add my business development. There was a SharePoint finance team site. Select those. And then I can also go and add applications. And this is any application you have configured through Azure Active Directory. So if I'm doing something with Adobe Cloud, Box, come down to Power Apps and Flow, Salesforce, go and select that. And I can even come in and add SharePoint online sites. So business development and select. Now we can take it a step further. We can now decide what level of access they have in these various applications. So I can come in with my group or team, make sure they're just a member role. Maybe this one I want to give them owner roles. Finance, let's just keep them a member. Box, user, and you can see it's picked up the different role types inside these applications that's available. Like Salesforce, because there's someone outside of my organization, I might only want to give them read-only access. And in business development, my SharePoint sites, I'm going to give them visitor access. Next, I need to configure how we handle requests. And remember earlier I said we can do this for people within our organization, or we can do it for users not in our directory. That's what I'm going to use for this case. The other option that you can use is that there is no request, that these are purely going to be administrator-assigned accesses. So this way, if you're doing it this way, you can at least control who you're adding to these groups very easily. It's going to be an extra overhead, but depending on the type of systems, the type of accesses that you're allowing, you might want to make sure that only administrators are allowing this sort of access. Then you can go and choose which organizations you want to connect with. So you can either say, okay, all organizations that I've connected with, all users. But we can go and say, in this case, organizations that we connected with, let's go add directories, and I'm going to choose my Zolab one. And then I can come in and say, okay, do these requests require approval or not? In this case, I'm going to say yes. Require that the user justifies their request. All this means that when the user is busy requesting, they're going to have to type out a justification as to why they want access. And then you can go choose, okay, who's going to do the approval of these requests. So you can go choose either your external or internal sponsor. I can go and add a failback user if I wanted to. So let me just add Megan in here. And then how many days before this task fails over to the backup approver? You can then also request that the approver provides justification. And then do you want new requests? Yes, we do. If this is set to no, people aren't going to be able to request access into this. Next, we enter the life cycle. So in some situations, you might want to grant that access permanently. But typically what you would do is you know that this specific project is going to go on for the next 6 months. So then I would go in and put in the day that this is going to expire. I can go through some advanced expiration settings and allow users to be able to extend their access if they wanted to. I can then force that approval needs to be done before that extension is granted. Now we can also implement access reviews. Access reviews is going to give us the ability to set up a regular interval where we're going to go in and check and make sure that all of these people are still supposed to have access to these systems. And I can go and say, okay, I need this to happen monthly. Is it a self-review? or are there specific reviewers? By self-review means me logged in as the administrator. Next, I go review and create. It gives me an overview of everything that I've specified. I can just go in and verify, and then I can go in and create. And you can see it starts creating that catalog for me to then make use of. Okay, there's my catalog. You'll see there the access link to this portal over here. Let's just copy it out, and let's open up Notepad quickly so you can see what it looks like. So myaccess.microsoft.com, that you can use inside your organization already to go and see what levels of access you have. But you can see there it's added my domain in, and then it's referring directly to that access package that I've just created. It's got that GUID inside there. So now if I go to another user that's in that Zolab directory, I can come in, you can see I'm signed in to that tenant, no access packages. But if I browse to that URL, you can see there the Zolab project. That's the one that I'm working on. I can go in, request access, working on the project. If I want to request for a specific period, like I know I'm only going to be working on this for a certain period of time, I can go yes, select my start and end dates. And then there's just a disclaimer saying by requesting access, you are sharing your details with this other organization. This is just to make sure that you are aware of the implications of what you are doing in this instance. So by requesting access, I go to submit. This is going to kick off and it's going to start that process. Now, if I jump back to my project, I can come in and see what requests are in place. I can see there's Megan. It's pending approval. I can come in and let's open this up. Come on. Process request. It's because I set someone else to be the approver inside this. That's why. Okay, so it's because I've assigned it to another person. But once I've done this, the person will get a notification saying their access has been granted. Now, one thing to note, it's not an immediate action once I say approve and the person starts getting access immediately. It's going to take a while to add them to the various SharePoint sites, the team sites, as well as the application. And the person on the other side is going to get email notifications when those requests start getting granted, along with links to those SharePoint groups and those team sites. Okay. Now, the last thing I just want to touch on before we finish off today is around Secure Score. Let's bring this up. And Identity Secure Score. Now, Microsoft Secure Score is a service that helps us understand our security posture. Identity Secure Score is a small portion of that, focusing on identity. So you would have admins inside your organization that's solely responsible for identity. They can come in and see how their score stacks up. So because this is a demo environment, it's not giving me nice stats around the industry or the size, but you would typically see how you stack up against other organizations. You would also be able to see how your score has been or how it has improved or dropped over the last 90 days or so. So you can see mine has actually come down, and this is because I started to assign additional global administrators inside my environment. And then you can come in and have a look and see how you can go and improve your score. So it's like, make sure that MFA is enabled for privileged roles. I'll get 40 points for that. Make sure MFA is available for all users. I'll get 25 or 29 points for that. So this way we can start to see how we can improve our security posture when it comes to our identities inside of our organization. But now remember, you might be covering some of these controls with other third-party solutions. You might be using another service for multi-factor authentication, where we wouldn't necessarily be able to see it on our side. So if you are doing that, but you still want to see what your score is, you would be able to come in to the control and say, I'm handling this via a third-party solution. And you can go in and save. The one thing to note, though, it is going to take a while for your score to be impacted. You will also see more details on how you can go and implement these policies if you are not already aware on how you're going to do that at the end of the day. Okay. Let's just save that. And we're done. Okay, so with that, I would like to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you coming through today. I hope you were able to learn something. I am running an additional session on Thursday around the Power Platform. And please, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will stick around for the next couple of minutes. Thank you, everyone.